to our community. Again, I'm from the west side of Chicago, so I can tell you specifically what happened when cocaine was allowed to come into the community unabated. Yes. What the film, and this is again the power of the media, what the film Superfly did to destroy conscious Black folk on the west side of Chicago.
Right, the original Superfly with Ron O'Neal, the original Superfly. Yes,
exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. So I was in Chicago, man, when that film came out, and I saw how cocaine.
When the Blaxploitation Movies, you mentioned Superfly, and I want to talk about that for just a quick minute, and then have you connect Nile Valley civilization and history to Queen Cleopatra, put it in a historical correct context. Okay, we're not going to let that dominate the conversation. Nathan McCall, the author Nathan McCall, he had a book out in the 1990s called Makes Me Wanna Holler. African American man, Makes Me Wanna Holler. And I read his book, and he talked about how in the 70s the movie Superfly made he and his friends want to sell drugs, to live that type of lifestyle. Okay. And he ended up going to prison. He became a journalist. I think it was either the Washington Post he ended up writing for. Washington Post. Yeah, I read his book, and his book was fantastic. And I had the book on tape, but that deals with the power of the media. Okay. And Dr. Leonard Jeffries has talked about previously how those Blaxploitation movies, not all of them, there were some good movies, but how some of those movies showed us in the worst light and promoted drug usage, pimping, selling drugs, things of this nature. And white people profited off of these degrading images of African Americans. Right after Dr. King's assassinated in 1968, Malcolm X assassinated in 65, the Black Panther Party for Self-Defense is infiltrated and largely derailed, okay? And then you have these movies. So we got to understand that chronology.
I always encourage people to take responsibility for yourself, to think before you speak, and to think about the long-term implications of everything you do. So emotion is all right, but emotion needs to be balanced with intelligence. It needs to be balanced with the ability to articulate what you think and to associate with people who are doing the same thing. The reality is, what I've learned over my 71 years of life here on planet Earth is that this information is not for everybody. You're not going to get everybody. It ain't about everybody. It's about moving and working with those people who are willing to learn, willing to commit themselves to something greater than their own individual and selfish interests. Right. It's about building for future generations. So that process is happening, brothers. I'm encountering more younger sisters and brothers. When I say younger, I mean folk in their 20s, 30s, and 40s who are finally getting it, who are thirsty, who want this information. These are the people that we need to be focusing on. We need to help frame the historical understanding of topics so that they don't get sidetracked by these games, by these traps that are set up just to waste their time, but stay focused like a laser, do the work, love yourself, right? And demonstrate that love and how you interact with other people who look like you, and build something tangible together that is going to outlive you. Something tangible that can be passed on to future generations. And if you can do that, man, if you can do that throughout your lifetime, then we can say that the day will come when our ancestors will return and have bodies to use that will allow them to create heaven on earth once again. It doesn't make sense to me, and I keep saying I'm going to close on this. But
hey, take your time, man. I know you got something to do after this, but take your time. I'm not rushing you. Okay.
It doesn't make sense for me personally to talk about your ancestors were kings and queens if you're acting like fools and jokers, right?
Yep.
And the other reality is that less than 0.1% of any nation's rulers were kings and queens. The vast majority of people were ministers and prime ministers, were scholars, were researchers, were scientists, were astronomers, were physicians, were healers, were masons, were architects and engineers. They are the people who made the nation. Right. The king or queen was just a figurehead. Right. So I want to redirect the conversation. I want to redirect the focus on something that is practical. It's just like saying, you want to be president of the United States. Anybody with any sense knows the president of the United States does not run the United States, right? And so it's the people who comprise this country who make this country what it is. And we know, people of African ancestry should understand very clearly that it was our ancestors and their free labor that helped to make this country the wealthiest and most powerful nation in human history. So we have an obligation as descendants of enslaved people who survived the Ma'afa. We have an obligation and a responsibility to use the resources that we have access here in this country to educate ourselves, right? Because what we know shapes the consciousness of African people all around the world. We talked earlier about the Black consciousness movement in the 1960s, and the powers that be saw how the Black Power movement influenced Steve Biko in South Africa. And he replicated a similar movement. It was happening in other parts of Africa as well. So the colonizers had to shut that down. And you shut that down by introducing films that divert our attention and have us praising drug dealers and ungodly behavior. And that then becomes the framework with which we see our future. So if we use this technology properly, we have the opportunity to access millions of minds in a matter of minutes and introduce a new narrative. That's what this opposition is all about.
Yes.
Shutting down the conversation, shutting down the power. So don't give your power away. You are the most important commodity that you'll ever possess. Free your mind. Model how free people, free men and women are supposed to speak, communicate, and move through the planet. Work with other people of like minds so that you can build something that will last for eternity. And as we do that, we will make our ancestors proud. And we then will be the vehicles through which they would do their best work. Why? Because they did it in the past, and we have the capacity to replicate it right now. That's what this whole journey is all about.
Absolutely. And up on the screen, I have the famous quote by Bantu Stephen Biko: "The most potent weapon in the hands of the oppressor is the mind of the oppressed." So we have to take our minds back. This is what Dr. Carter G. Woodson was telling us in his work, not just in the Miseducation of the Negro in 1933, but the work he did with Association for the Study of African American Life and History, ASALH, which he co-founded September 9th, 1915. So, all right, excellent. We got to bring you back, Tony. I know you got to run. We have to bring you back. And everybody, those slides I was showing, those are all slides from the online classes that I teach. We use 2 of your books, Egypt on the Potomac and Nile Valley Contributions to Civilization, in my classes as well. I introduce a lot of people to you, Tony. I read this book back in 1994. I just got this new copy last year from Brother Haki Ami Shakur. But my original copies from 1994, the pages were falling out. I had to get a new copy, man. But that book I read from the Browder file first. Then in 94 when I was at Wayne State University, I read Nile Valley Contributions to Civilization. It blew my mind, man. I haven't been right since. Okay. It corrected my mind.
Right. You have been right.
It corrected my mind, man, but it blew me away, brother. So you got to write. This is volume 1, man. You got to write volume 2. You got about 20 volumes in you, brother, man. But you got to write volume 2, brother.
Well, brother, that's one of the reasons why I need to use the time that I have left to redirect my energies. I've got a ton of information that I need to get out.
Yes.
And so I'm going to be focusing on doing more writing and continuing to push my daughter out, because what I have established is a legacy that she's going to continue. So, last December, I had some health challenges and I was unable to travel to Egypt, take my group to Egypt. So my daughter stepped up and did it.
Oh, that's good.
So to
Shout
know
out to
that we're preparing the next generation, man, is really what this thing is all about. Because we're not going to live forever, and we can't do everything ourselves. So we should be training cadres of young people, man, to know who they are and to live that knowledge in everything that they do. That then is how we change the world. So, it's a pleasure to be on the program.
We got to have you back soon, brother. Yep. And I'm wearing the Black Friday shirt because we're in the documentary series from Rick Mathis, director Rick Mathis, Black Friday, What Legacy Will You Leave? Okay. All right, Tony, everybody visit ikg-info.com. Support Tony Browder, support his daughter, Atlantis Browder, and also support the African History Network. All right, Tony, you have a good day, brother. Hotep. All right, peace.
Take care, man.
Appreciate it.
Peace to you.
All right, everybody. So that was one of our esteemed scholars, one of my friends for years, Tony Browder. He was one of my first interviews that I did. in 2010 when I launched the African History Network show. I'm going to give you a little information about the online history classes I teach on Saturdays and Sundays. I'm Michael Imhotep, founder of the African History Network, host of the African History Network show. I'm a historian, been studying history 31 years. I'm a researcher, lecturer, writer, historian, talk show host. You see me on Roland Martin Unfiltered on Fridays. I'm a political commentator as well. You see me on Faraji Muhammad's show, The Culture, also. You can support us, $, the AHN show through Cash App, and also through PayPal, paypal.me/the AHN show. Visit our website, TheAfricanHistoryNetwork.com, TheAfricanHistoryNetwork.com, or AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. It'll redirect you to our new website. Because
child struggling with reading, writing, learning loss, and a culturally irrelevant curriculum? Do you want your child to be outstanding at reading and writing, and also take pride in their culture? Then you want Reading Revolution Online. Reading Revolution Online is a web-based reading support program. We serve scholars in grades K through 8, and through our innovative approach, we help them build reading confidence and cultural identity development, equipping them for success in school and life. They learn about Black heroes and sheroes through captioned videos, reading selections, and other activities. Reading Revolution Online is an experience for the whole family. Do it for the culture. Go to readingrevolution.org and get your membership